What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Barbells and Trails podcast. I just wanted to tell you guys, Happy New Year. This is the first podcast of the new year, 2023. Hopefully some good things happen for everybody. We're back. Episode, I think, 37. I know in particular, this one is out late, and I did not post last week, which I did not state in the last podcast, which is my bad. Just with the holidays and having vacation time and being with family and doing stuff, and my sister being home, and all that stuff, it was kind of a challenge. I probably should have just either pre-made one or let you guys know that there wasn't going to be one. So that's my bad. And then this week, I've been trying to record with Bailey this week for this week's episode before she goes back. She's been a pain. She's had her nose in a book basically the past 4 days. So she's been reading a lot and has read like 2 books this week because she's trying to finish it before she goes back to college. So that's partially for the delay this week. But I'm here. I hope everybody had an amazing New Year and Christmas and spent plenty of time with their family, gained about 10 pounds from December. You know, all the usual festivities. So it was a good time, but I'm glad to be back at it. I just needed to get back into the routine, so I'm glad I'm here recording with you guys. Hopefully, for next week's episode, I do record with Bailey this weekend before she goes back to school. We will see. And yeah, it'll be fun, but I hope everybody did have a good holiday season. I know I did personally. It was good. It was weird. I took a week off. I should have got more done than I did that week, but it's kind of weird because this was the longest time since high school I've ever had a break from work, at least in one continual cycle. It was like 10 days off, which was crazy, right? I think it was 10 days. And the last time I had that was when I had COVID, but that was not vacation. I was basically stuck in a house by myself. I couldn't go or do anything. It was right before Christmas. It was very boring and stressful. So I wouldn't consider that one necessarily. But no, it was good. It was nice to kind of have some time off. My sleep schedule went out the window, all sorts, but it was fun. I was gonna think we could talk about some New Year's resolutions. I might do that when Bailey comes on. I don't necessarily like setting resolutions because I found that those are just kind of pointless because I don't know. I feel like when you set a resolution, it's more in the sense of like everybody else is, I will, and then they don't stick to it. I like try setting goals and trying to hit those, not necessarily like, oh, this year I'm going to be healthier. I hope to be healthier every year, like an automatic. And so we'll go over that probably with Bailey or something for next week's episode before she leaves. But it was a lot of fun. The one thing I am doing now, which I think I mentioned this at one point in a past episode, is I am doing carnivore for the month of January. Kind of got this from Joe Rogan and some other people. I think January is like carnivore month or whatever, something along those lines. It's typically when Rogan does it. So thought I'd try it out. It's interesting. It's more challenging than I would have thought. Mainly because you can't snack, and it's because I mean everything's meat. So like unless you have beef jerky, you're not snacking. So I was gonna be getting and eating at least some fruits and some like berries and stuff in particular while I was on the diet, just to get something else in there. And I've still been taking my athletic greens and stuff like that. But it's interesting. I don't know what to think. It's cool. I think for some people this would be a lot harder just because maybe they're not used to eating as much meat, or there's a stigma that meat is unhealthy, which it's not. and all that stuff. But like I have already weighing in on the first and weighing in this morning, dropped 8 pounds. And I did not. I'll tell you right now, I did not eat worth a shit. Like when I said I gained 10 pounds in December, I probably gained 10 pounds in December. I weighed in at 200 even on New Year's Day, and only like a month ago I was 187, about there. So part of that is just whatever's in your system. Part of that's water weight, and you do fluctuate. I've fluctuated 5 pounds in 24 hours before. It happens, but it's still, I definitely put on a little weight. So I'm trying to lose that. I think so far the first week has been probably mainly water weight, just from not having carbs and all that stuff. But for me, I already ate a super high protein diet, so most of my food was some form of animal based to begin with, between like meats or dairy, just because those are like some of the easiest and best ways to consume fats and proteins. So that's basically what I was doing anyways. I'm just cutting out the dairy, I'm cutting out the carbs. So, and I didn't eat a lot of carbs to begin with, except on certain days. You know, but it's going well so far. I think it's cool to try. The only reason I'm doing it is just to kind of see how I feel if I lose weight. Just mess around with it, because I've always been curious, especially when I heard about it. I was like, well, if obviously everybody knew vegan, vegetarian, and carnivore kind of came out later and wasn't known, and I was just like, carnivore, that's interesting. I didn't know that would even be a thing, but turns out it is. It's it is cool. I've listened to some podcasts about it and certain sciences. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. People think overeating meat is terrible, and it's really not. Processed foods, yes, but meat itself, no. It's probably some of the most bioavailable thing on earth is animal proteins. So it is interesting that there's such a stigma, but for some reason there's not with vegetarians. And I think for some reason it's because people associate vegetables with amazing health. And I'm not saying that's not true, but then for some reason people associate meat with heart disease and cancer, which doesn't make sense, because there's just as much, if not more, nutrients in meat than there are in vegetables. So that's why if you do go on a all vegan diet, you have to have vegan in particular, you got to have quite a variety of things you eat to make sure you try keeping all your minerals and vitamins in check. Which, I mean, there's certain things you might not be able to get from meat, but for what I've heard and listened to, most nutrients is in meat. It might be a small amount, but there is at least there, where certain plants definitely focus on certain vitamins or vitamins or minerals than having a very large variety. But no, it's interesting. I encourage anybody to try these things. I don't think doing fad diets is necessarily good in the sense of longevity and consistency. I think in general, just trying to find something for you to stick to is the best thing. Like, what do you enjoy eating? Okay, fair enough. If you really like pasta, you can kind of work around it and find ways. It's about, you might have to just count your calories more, but you still need to try getting your proteins in, and maybe you have a slightly lower fat level, but you can make it work depending on what it is you want to eat. But you just got to count calories and restrict at times or do whatever. And it's good. It's good to just try to keep it consistent where you will actually do it. Because if you can't stay consistent, you can't keep to the diet, what's the point in doing it to begin with? If you do it for 2-3 weeks, you hate it, it's miserable, but let's say you are able to lose 5 pounds, and then you just hate it so much that you quit and then gain the weight back, what's the point? Try finding something that's consistent that you can stick with, I feel like, anyways. But it's cool. Not only that, I haven't necessarily kept up with the news over the past couple weeks with the holidays and being home and doing stuff, but I'm pretty sure I heard something about Elon Musk demoting himself pretty much from Twitter CEO. I saw or heard something about how he put a poll on Twitter saying, should I remove myself from the CEO position or whatever, and the majority of people voted yes. And apparently he's been looking for a CEO to replace him. So that's kind of interesting. I could see why people think that or think he should leave. I don't have any negative connotations to Elon Musk. I don't think people make it too political, and I don't have an issue with him. And even with him at one point being the wealthiest man in the world, I don't necessarily think some people believe that makes you a piece of shit. I don't believe that. But he is a very interesting guy and has a lot on the table, and might not be the best for a CEO of a social media company. So out of all the companies he's involved in, I feel like this would be the thing he knows and does the least in. So it makes sense for him probably not to hold that position and have someone that is better equipped to handle the social media atmosphere, because his thing's engineering, and there's not a lot of engineering necessarily when it comes to a social media company. I think Twitter will be fine. People were like worried that Twitter was going to go under some shit, but I don't think that. I think it'll be around for a while. So that one is an interesting topic of discussion. But another thing that I've been doing with my spare time, and by spare time, I mean all the time, I guess, I'm very late to the trend, but I have started, I can't say started because I'm not at the beginning. I am watching Game of Thrones right now. And that might sound weird to most because it was like one of the biggest TV shows in the world for years. But I never watched a single episode until last week. And it just, I don't know, I feel like it was something I would have been into, but we never had HBO Max, so it never got brought up. And the ability to actually watch it. So it is what it is on that one. And then I remembered that we have AT&T, and guess what? If you're an AT&T customer, you get to use HBO Max. Kind of forgot about that or didn't realize it, so I was able to set that up last week. And then at one point last weekend, I was like, well, why don't I just like watch an episode? Let me watch a quick episode. And I watched the first episode, hooked immediately. I'm invested. Let me tell you right now, I think I'm at the end of episode. I'm at the end of season 4 already, and I started watching the show last Sunday. So yeah, I'm gonna get through the show very quickly. But it's an amazing show. I completely understand why people like fell in love with it. A lot of different storylines, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of characters to keep up with and enjoy. And it is a very, very good TV show. I really like it. I just got to the point. I don't think I need to say spoiler alert because the show's been out and started since 2011. But I'm at the part where I think the wall just got attacked and stuff. Like I'm at that part at the end of season 4. But it's so far an amazing TV show. I can't wait to finish it. Like I already know certain plot points just because the show's been out so long. I know bits and pieces. I've seen clips. I've seen like little stuff clipped down on YouTube or TikTok, and I've just kind of looked at it. So I kind of knew some characters and knew some plot points, just didn't know exactly how that was going to happen. And so it is kind of cool to watch the show and be like, okay, so I know this is happening. We're at this point, but what happens in between those two to make that the outcome? It's like, what's about to happen? So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to predict what these certain characters are going to do. I'm never right. I really am not. I don't think I've been right once on my hypotheses, but we move. but it's an amazing show, and I hope you guys do let me know in the comments if you do like it, because uh it's a good TV show. I don't know what to tell you. And I do want to remind you guys, I know this is the beginning of the year. I'm pretty pleased with what I was able to do this year. I got up to 44 subscribers. Thank you guys for that. I think I'm at 13 on the clips, and I think 12 on the shorts. I might have those backwards. So in the end, I'm pretty I'm very pleased. I mean, I'm at, what would that be, 69 subscribers this year overall, and compared to my last YouTube channel, which I don't want any of you guys to check out, it took me and I didn't even do it for a year, but it took me quite some time to get up to, I think, 15 or 20, and it just wasn't getting views. I wasn't doing shit. So thank you for actually subscribing and watching and everything. And if you want to help me out, just comment on the video, like the video, share it with your friends, follow on Spotify or YouTube. And I do appreciate all your guys' support. I mean, I'm not even a year in. I still got 3 months. So at least this year we were able to do 69 subs. Next year, hopefully we can double it or something. And when it comes to what we did in 1 year on each channel, we've done 44 on the podcast channel, and I still have 3 months till it's been one full year. I only started doing and recording physical videos halfway through that year cycle. So it's like, what could have been, what could this year hold? How much can this grow? It's hard to tell. Same with the clips and shorts channel. It's like, I did, like, for shorts, it's not necessarily uncommon because that stuff's going to be consumed easier. But within the first week, I almost did 2,000 views, or 2 weeks. And yes, do I need to post there more and do stuff? 100%. But it's like, who knows where that could end up once I get that consistent. Same with the clips channel. I'm kind of excited to see what we can do, and I hope you guys are excited too and enjoying the content. I love feedback, and I don't necessarily get that from the comments always. Sometimes I do, but not always. Or even from people I know that listen. And I do enjoy feedback, even if it's negative at one point. It's like, I'd rather have someone tell me instead of just not knowing. And but I'm excited for the new year. I'm excited to see what happens with this and keep going. There's just, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. It is weird to realize in my head that I have 5 months until I'm 22. I mean, that's not necessarily like a big number or magnificent, but it is crazy to think about. It's almost been 4 years from high school. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. And I don't know. It's like, people have a point. Life is too quick. Life goes by really fast. And I think it both does and doesn't. Because I think in comparison to everything in around the world and the universe, the human lifespan is a blink of the eye to certain things. But I think for us, life is longer than we realize. It's just, if you utilize the time you have here is the problem. Because, I mean, yeah, I'm enjoying the show, but should I really spend all this time watching a TV show? Maybe not. But it's like, think about how much time, by the time, if you pass away at 80, how much time did you spend maybe watching YouTube or just sitting on the couch and lounging and snacking, or just not necessarily doing anything with your time or your day? And I get it. Relaxing is awesome too. Not saying you shouldn't have it, but it's like, when that all adds up, how much does that actually configure to the, like, full percent? It's like, you already got a third of it lost to sleep no matter what. So there's already a third of your life gone. So it's like, how many years did you just sit and watch TV and sit on the couch? And it's not always a bad thing. If you're spending time with people, it's different. But, you know what I mean? If you're alone, it's a little more boring. But it's cool. By the way, I wanted to tell you guys too. Me and Bailey and my dad went and watched Avatar 2 again. My dad had not seen it. Me and Bailey have seen it. We talked about it on the podcast. I was more excited, and I think I even enjoyed it more the second time than I did the first. And I mainly think the reason is that I knew what to expect. And that's weird because it's like, well, the whole point of a movie is not necessarily knowing unless it's one you have already seen and just kind of like enjoying it. So yeah, like of course, knowing what to expect is going to change how you feel about it. But I think honestly part of it too was there was no build up. Like Avatar disappeared from my life and then reemerged. I was like, yo, Avatar 2, 13 years later. It's like, shit, I watched the first one when I was 8 years old. Like, at the time when I watched the first one, considering how well it did and how they ended it, I was like, oh, man, they have to be making a second one. I was expecting at max 4 years till the second movie. Turns out it was 13. I'm not upset because the movie is amazing. But when you don't have that connection or reminder in your head that that's even a thing, like when they announced the second movie, it's like, oh, man, that's really cool. It's been so long. I'd love to go see it and find out how it is. But it's like I wasn't like hyped. I wasn't like, holy shit, Avatar 2? I can't fucking wait. The first one was so good. This one's going to be amazing. Like, that wasn't what popped into my head. It was like, oh, cool. Like, I definitely have to see that because I did enjoy the first one. I want to see where they take it. And then I was happily surprised by how amazing it was. And so it was the best comparison I had is like that one was kind of in the background. You didn't know what was going on. I mean, I don't even think they had it guaranteed that they were going to make the movie or going to start making the movie until 2015. And so it was like that's already 6 years after the first movie. So that's a long time. But the only other movie series I can compare it to that did the exact opposite, and it's not even a series, is Marvel. The first movie, Iron Man, came out in 2008. And they had a Marvel movie at least 2 or 3 times a year almost. Maybe one time, depending on the beginning stages of the Marvel Cinematic Universe like building. But they were there the whole time. There was at least a movie or multiple and a handful of movies every single year for 10 plus years. And it was always a reminder, new characters, new people, but it's all the same thing. Marvel, superheroes, blah, blah, blah. Slowly but surely building up to like Infinity War and Endgame. So it's like when those movies came out, it was like that one, just going into it, you were so hyped up, at least if you were a fan, because you knew that this had been building for years, and that's never been done in a movie. I don't like with movies. The best comparison I feel like would be Harry Potter. But it's also different because Harry Potter, you can read the books and know the outcome. You can't really do that with the Marvel stuff necessarily because I guess there's comics. These are based on comics, but these stories are also original creations in themselves. So it's very interesting because you want to see what they're going to do with it, and then also have not like an amazing cast, but in Endgame and Infinity War, you literally have every character that you love in one movie instead of maybe a max of like 5 or less. You literally have 25 amazing large Marvel characters, big star actors, all this in these movies, and of course people are going to want to see it. It's like, oh, who's in the cast? Everyone you can think of, like Scarlett Johansson, like Chris Hemsworth, I almost said Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Like you just keep going down the list, and it is just ridiculous. Where with Avatar, I mean, there is a very good cast, but at the same time, in comparison, it's minimal. It's still amazing, but when you compare it to the cast of the Marvel Infinity War or something, it's like good, but you could do better. But it is kind of crazy too that like they've broken records. They didn't do this by the time me and Bailey recorded the last episode. Within 14 days, they crossed the $1 billion mark. Last time I saw, they were at $1.4 billion globally. And that was almost a week ago. So I feel like now they're at least at 1.6, if not higher. and I think they had to make over $2 billion, or at least $2 billion, to be profitable for the studio. So they're on track. Like, they've already broken records for one of the best movies this year, let alone, or last year, let alone ever. And it's crazy to see, because it's so wild to watch. Like, the first one, I'm guessing most people have seen it. Amazing movie, amazing graphics. The story and plot, it's okay, but I understand why some people don't like it. But when it comes to the visual effects, at the time, this was the best shit ever. It still holds up and is still amazing, but you watch the new movie and it's just not comparable. Like, the old stuff, like Avatar, the first one, not bad, but The Way of Water, ridiculous. Like, it's crazy how good it is. Like, you feel like it's real and someone recorded shit on a drone somewhere. Like, it's awesome. So I do recommend people to eventually see it whenever they get the chance, because it is an amazing movie. And I think that within 8 years or less, this will be probably one of the largest. It will be probably the largest grossing movie franchise ever, but I feel like this will be one of the largest movie franchises of all time. Because if this one does well and the next one does well, which is very likely, there's going to end up being 5 movies. Or that's what they want to do. And the last movie won't come out till, I think, 2028. So it's interesting. It's going to be with us over the next 6 years. So it's cool to see what's going to happen with everything. And I'm excited, but I'm also a nerd. So I'm going to let you guys know that now. I'm a nerd, but it's okay. And other than that, I'm trying to think what else has been going on. Like, I wanted to talk to you guys, but I didn't necessarily know what to do. I wanted to get this out for you guys today when I'm recording, so I'm trying to figure this out for you. But I'm excited for this year. I really am, and I hope that things go well for everyone. Like, I hope everybody has an amazing year and everything you shoot for happens. And if it doesn't, keep working, and try not to be discouraged. I know sometimes I probably say stuff to people that I'm like, hey, just do this or do that, and then I don't necessarily use it on myself. But I feel like that's everybody, because you want the best for other people, but sometimes it's hard to push yourself to those same standards, and I think we all struggle with that, and that's something I want to hopefully get better at. So it's a process for all of us, and every year or every day, I want to try to be better in some way or another, do something that I probably wouldn't have done previously. So it's very cool, and I hope everybody keeps moving and grinding. But I think those were the main topics I knew I wanted to talk about. Besides, when Bailey comes on, I know we'll probably have a larger conversation. But because I've been so out of the loop in the news, I don't think I've listened or watched or read anything really to do with the news in probably 3 weeks. I thought I'd pull out my laptop and at least read a few little things, just to kind of fill us in if no one else has been paying attention to the news because of the holidays as well. We'll get a little recap. This is the most closest post, most recent post on theirs. So, Canada bans foreign home buyers. As of the 1st of January, most foreigners cannot buy a home in Canada. The new law, which bans most non-Canadians from buying homes as investments for 2 years, intends to make housing more affordable for Canadians after housing prices spiked during the pandemic. Many politicians blame foreigners for the spike, claiming they perceived the California housing market as a place to, Canada housing market as a place to make money, not to build a home. Critics say the ban will have little impact because foreign buyers account for only 5% of Canada's home ownership. They want Canada to invest in more home options instead. That's interesting. It's weird that you're not allowed to buy a house in some other country. I mean, I guess I get it, but it's still, that's a hard one. I feel like that's like being too forceful with the housing industry and what people can do with their money. And at the same time, it's still bringing money into the market by foreigners buying homes in your country. So it's, I don't know. That one is interesting. I didn't hear about this, but this is pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of the World War II story where they stopped on Christmas for the day and before they went back to killing each other. But Russia called for a 36-hour ceasefire. On Thursday, Russia called for a 36-hour ceasefire in Russia and Ukraine war to mark Orthodox Christmas. 70% of Russians and nearly 80% of Ukrainians identify as Orthodox Christians, whose Christmas is on January 7th. Russian President Putin ordered a ceasefire between noon on the 6th and midnight on the 7th. Following an appeal by the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, who supports Russian actions in Ukraine, Russia asked Ukrainian forces to declare a ceasefire in return. Ukraine rejected the request, calling it propaganda. They said they won't observe a truce until Russia withdraws forces from Ukrainian territory. Oh, that's kind of... I thought they actually had a ceasefire, but I guess not. That sucks. I kind of wish they would have at least done it, because, give you a day of relief. World's first honeybee vaccination. The U.S. Department of Agriculture approved the world's first vaccination for honeybees. Developed by a biotech firm, Dallin, the vaccine protects honeybees from foul brood, a bacterial disease that can weaken or kill hives. Foul brood is a leading cause of honeybee fatalities and has no cure. Vaccine is dispensed by adding some bacteria in jelly that's eaten by worker bees who feed the queen bee, who then passes immunity to offspring. Honeybees are vital to agriculture, but populations are declining. Dallin hopes the vaccine, exclusive to commercial beekeepers at first, will offset the trend. It's interesting. Never would have imagined a bee needing a vaccine, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to save those bees. All right, what else is going on? Here we go. What's this one? States, millions of workers received raises. On January 1st, the minimum wage increased in 23 states and D.C., triggering raises for millions of workers. The raises affected 8.4 million workers and increased annual wages by $5 billion plus. Nebraska had the highest hike, up $1.50 to $10.50 an hour. D.C. had the highest floor at $16.10 an hour. The federal minimum wage has remained at $7.25 since 2009, but states can vote to increase their minimum wage. With inflation coming off of a 40-year high, advocates of minimum wage increase say the hikes offset the rise of cost of living. Critics say hikes further inflate for all by upping costs for businesses. Yeah, that one's always been a big debate, and I really don't want to get in the middle of that, because it's like I don't know what's correct in that sense. I think people should be paid what they're worth, and I don't necessarily think that a single mother should be making $8 an hour trying to raise her kids at McDonald's. But it's also, I don't think someone in that position needs to make $20 an hour. But it also, I feel like, depends on where you live. I could live here a lot fucking cheaper than I can in New York. Like right now, if I was living in New York off the money I made, I would have a shitty living. I'd have a pretty shitty place to live. I'd probably be in like a 400 square foot apartment, if that, or some shit, that with my rent being twice or three times as much as it is now, and just everything else would be ridiculous. And if I made $80,000 or more here compared to there, I'd be living pretty good. So it's a hard discussion. I don't know. It's hard to do a broad sweep. I think the states being able to increase it makes more sense. Welcome Bing GPT. Microsoft is planning to integrate Chat GPT tech into its search Bing engine. Developed by OpenAI, ChatGPT is one of the most advanced chatbots ever publicly released. It generates human-like text answers to questions. Microsoft invested $1 billion in OpenAI in 2019 and has dibs on the commercial use of some of its tech. Oh, interesting. Chat GDP. I've heard about this, but I don't know. I don't know what to think. It's kind of creepy AI, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. FDA expands abortion pill access. On Tuesday, the FDA made a rule change that will allow some retail pharmacies to offer abortion pills. I don't even want to know how to pronounce that. Yeah. Is the first two drugs used to induce a medical abortion. Previously, only clinics, doctors, or some mail-order pharmacies could offer it. Now, retail pharmacies such as CVS and Walgreens can offer the drugs to consumers with a prescription in certain states. Pharmacies must become certified to sell the drug. Abortion pills are used in 50+% of U.S. abortions and are rising in demand after the Supreme Court ruled that there is no federal right to an abortion last year. Well, that one is something I did not know about. What else is going on? Is there much more that has been happening? Ooh. Okay, there's a couple things here. I'm gonna read these last couple ones. Study: dogs' tails are just for wagging. A new study claims that dogs' tails are not crucial for agility or motion. Previous studies have shown that many animals, such as cats and lizards, use their tails to maintain balance and perform complex and mid-air maneuvers. An international team of researchers used the mathematical model that tracked dogs' movements. It claimed that the dog's tail had little or no effect on jumping, running, and other movements. Tails likely evolved instead to ward off bugs and communicate with other dogs. The researchers said the study still needs to be peer-reviewed. That would be interesting. Yeah, I don't think... Actually, them saying that kind of makes sense. Because I don't think my dog's ever done anything where his tail's necessary. But that's weird. Oregon legalizes psilocybin. Okay, so it's fully legal. Interesting. That's the first state to, I think, do that now. Oregon's on it, apparently. On January 1st, Oregon became the first state, to legalize psilocybin or magic mushrooms active ingredient. The federal government lists psilocybin as a Schedule I or totally outlawed drug. In recent years, though, studies have suggested it may be effective on treating depression, alcoholism, PTSD, and more. In November 2020, Oregonarians voted to legalize adult use of psilocybin at government-supervised centers. That took effect on January 1st, 2023. Now, any 21-year-old or older can go to a center and use psilocybin under supervision of the state-trained guide. It will not be available at retail sales. First state to do it. I'm trying to hop on a trend, I can tell. New York nurses going on strike. Yeah, I didn't hear about this one either. 12,000 or more U.S. nurses in 7 New York City hospitals plan on striking beginning on January 9th. Oh, it hasn't even happened yet. The nurses are represented by a union. Their current deal expired in 2022. In the past month, they've been unable to negotiate a new deal with hospitals. The union claims that the COVID-19 pandemic led to an exodus from the field, causing hospitals to become understaffed and nurses overworked. They also claim their pay doesn't reflect their higher workload. In late December, 99% of unionized New York City nurses voted to strike. On January, 4,000 of them reached a deal to avoid a strike, but over 12,000 haven't and still plan to strike. Well, hopefully not very many people are sick, because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot of nurses this weekend, right? Next week? Whatever. What's today? Today's the 6th. So next Monday. If you're in New York City, don't go to the hospital unless you really need to. Try not to end up there, if anything. But, okay. Well, everybody, I think that is going to call me. Yeah, call me for today. I think that's going to call us for today. I think I'm going to go out with the boys tonight. Have a good night. Go see a friend that I haven't seen in over a year. That's not true. But pushing a year. And I hope everybody had a great New Year's Eve and Christmas. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend, and I will see you all next week. Let's fucking make this year amazing. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.